What your body does at night when you apply castor oil before sleep is something that almost no one in mainstream medicine is telling you. And by the time this video ends, you will understand exactly why. You have probably been here before. You go to bed stiff. You wake up stiff. Somewhere around 3 in the morning, your mind starts running that quiet, familiar math. How many more years of this? How much worse does it get? How long before getting out of a chair becomes a project? You have tried things. Creams, supplements, advice from well-meaning people. Some of it helped a little. Most of it did not. And your doctor, when you brought it up, spent 4 minutes with you and handed you something printed off a computer. Here is what nobody tells you. What your physician offers at a standard appointment is only half the picture. Not because they do not care, but because the other half has no financial incentive behind it. You cannot patent a brown bottle of cold-pressed oil that costs under $12. I am Dr. Ethan Reed, and I have spent over 2 decades in integrative medicine working specifically with adults in their 60s and 70s. Tonight, I am going to walk you through 5 specific things that castor oil does inside your body during the night, tissue by tissue, system by system. Stay with me all the way to reason 1, because what the latest research has revealed about cellular energy production during sleep is the piece that reframes everything else on this list. Let me start with what is actually happening inside your body while you sleep, because most people think of sleep as simply the absence of being awake. It is far more than that. Sleep is the most active biological repair window your body has access to. Think of your body during the day like a city running at full capacity. Traffic moving, every department handling whatever the day demands. Sleep is when the maintenance crews come out. The roads get repaired, the drainage channels get cleared, the structures that took damage during the day get rebuilt. Here is what is happening inside your body right now. If you are over 60, that maintenance window is being quietly cut short. Blood flow to peripheral tissues increases by up to 30% during deep sleep, but only if your nervous system successfully shifts into what is called the parasympathetic state, the rest and repair mode. After 65, that shift becomes progressively harder to achieve fully. Inflammatory signals that ran high all day do not quiet down the way they should. The lymphatic vessels that are supposed to clear metabolic waste slow to a fraction of their earlier function. The cellular repair signals your body depends on to rebuild tissue, restore energy, and clear toxic debris from the brain arrive weaker and less frequently than they did 10 years ago. The truth is, this is not age itself doing this. These are specific, identifiable, correctable physiological processes. And that distinction matters because correctable means you are not standing at the edge of something irreversible. You are standing in front of a series of doors, and tonight we are going to open them one by one. We are almost at 100,000 subscribers. Subscribe and make sure this information keeps reaching you. Reason 5, the connective tissue. Your body has been begging to hydrate. Most people have never heard the word fascia. Most doctors never say it in an appointment. And yet it may be the most direct explanation for the kind of stiffness that has been stealing your mornings for years. Here is what is happening inside your body. Fascia is a continuous web of collagen-rich connective tissue. Picture the white membrane wrapped tightly around a raw piece of chicken that surrounds every single muscle, organ, nerve, and bone in your body. When it is well hydrated and supple, your body moves the way it was designed to. When it thickens, dries, and stiffens, a process researchers call fascial densification, which begins accelerating after the mid-50s, the symptoms are things you know very well. That deep, grinding stiffness that takes an hour to shake off in the morning, the aching through the hips and lower back that never fully quiets, the sensation that your body is somehow wrapped one size too tight around the person inside it. A peer-reviewed study published in the Journal of Bodywork and Movement Therapies found that ricinoleic acid, the primary active compound in castor oil, penetrates the skin barrier significantly more deeply than most plant-based oils, owing to its molecular structure and its strong chemical affinity for the collagen fibers in fascial tissue. During sleep, when blood flow to the skin and underlying tissues increases and the body is in its parasympathetic repair state, that penetration becomes even more efficient. The tissue is more receptive. The delivery window is wider. Barbara Holloway, 68 years old, a retired nurse from Knoxville, Tennessee, had been waking up every morning unable to fully straighten her spine until she had been moving for at least 45 minutes. She completed 2 rounds of physical therapy, tried 4 different topical creams, and was weighing a cortisone injection when she came to see me. We began a nightly castor oil pack over her lumbar region and the left hip she described as her primary limitation. Within 3 weeks, she reported her morning routine had changed. Within 6 weeks, she said she was moving like herself again. Here is how to begin tonight. Take a piece of unbleached cotton flannel, roughly the size of your open hand, and saturate it with cold-pressed, hexane-free castor oil. Apply it over your lower back, your hip, or whatever area of stiffness is most affecting your quality of life. Lay a thin sheet of plastic wrap over it to protect your sheets. Then place a heating pad on the lowest, warm setting over the top for 20 to 30 minutes before sleep. The gentle heat opens the skin barrier and drives the ricinoleic acid deeper into the fascial tissue beneath. Do this 4 nights per week. Pro tip most people miss. Pair this with 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate. That is a specific form of magnesium, highly absorbable, taken 30 minutes before bed on the same nights. Magnesium is a natural muscle relaxant, and it works from the inside in precisely the tissues the castor oil is addressing from the outside. The two together address the stiffness from both directions simultaneously, something neither one achieves alone. Tell me in the comments, where in your body does stiffness affect you most in the morning? I read every comment, and your answer shapes what I research next. Reason 4. The inflammation dial. Nobody is turning down here is what almost never gets said at appointments. Chronic low-grade inflammation is not a symptom of aging. It is a driver of it. And what castor oil does to your inflammatory signaling during the night is something that most physicians have never been trained to use. Here is what is happening inside your body if you are over 65. Your body produces hormone-like molecules called prostaglandins. Think of them as a volume dial that controls your body's pain and swelling response. In younger adults, that dial moves fluidly, rising in response to injury or stress, and then returning to baseline. After 65, research from the National Institute on Aging shows that a specific inflammatory marker called C-reactive protein, CRP, runs at 2 to 3 times the concentration seen in younger adults, even in people who feel relatively well. Scientists have a name for this state, inflammaging. It is now understood to be a primary driver of joint deterioration, cardiovascular stress, cognitive decline, and depression in older adults. And it is one of the least discussed processes occurring inside the bodies of millions of people right now. A landmark study published in the European Journal of Pain identified that ricinoleic acid specifically binds to a class of receptors called EP3 prostaglandin receptors in a way that turns that inflammation dial back down without suppressing immune function the way common over-the-counter anti-inflammatory drugs do. That distinction is critical. Most NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, reduce inflammation by blunting your entire immune response, which relieves the joint but leaves the whole system more vulnerable. Ricinoleic acid appears to work with far greater selectivity. What makes nighttime application particularly well-timed is your cortisol rhythm. Cortisol, your primary stress hormone, reaches its lowest point between midnight and 3 in the morning. This is the widest anti-inflammatory window your body has in any 24-hour period because cortisol and healing pathways directly compete. Applying castor oil before bed means the ricinoleic acid is already in your tissue when that window opens. Dorothy Ashby, 71 years old, a former office manager from Charleston, South Carolina, had been taking ibuprofen every single day for 4 years to manage aching in her hands and knees. She was worried about her stomach and her kidneys, both legitimate concerns with long-term anti-inflammatory drug use. We introduced a nightly castor oil pack over her liver area, the right upper abdomen, just below the lower ribs. Within 8 weeks, she had reduced her ibuprofen use to 2 days per week and described her overall discomfort as 50% quieter on the remaining days. Apply castor oil over your liver area, right upper abdomen just below your lower ribs, 4 nights per week. This region is dense with lymphatic drainage points, and the liver is your body's primary anti-inflammatory organ. 30 minutes before application, drink a warm cup of turmeric and ginger tea, 1 teaspoon of ground turmeric, and 1/2 teaspoon of dried ginger steeped in 8 ounces of hot water. The curcumin in turmeric and the gingerols in ginger activate complementary anti-inflammatory pathways from the inside. So by the time the ricinoleic acid is at work externally, your body's own chemistry is already moving in the same direction. Pro tip, and this one is critical, do not use hexane-extracted castor oil. Hexane is a petroleum-based solvent used in cheaper processing, and trace residues can provoke their own low-grade inflammatory response. The precise opposite of what you are trying to achieve here. Cold-pressed only. It costs a few dollars more. It is not negotiable. Reason 3, the drainage system that has been backing up for years. Most doctors spend fewer than 4 minutes on this topic with patients over 65, if they raise it at all. Here is what nobody tells you: the puffiness in your ankles, the heaviness in your legs, the waterlogged feeling even when your heart has been checked and cleared. That is not a mystery. That is a drainage problem. Here is what is happening inside your body. Your lymphatic system is a network of microscopic vessels running alongside every blood vessel in your body, collecting cellular waste, carrying immune cells, and filtering metabolic debris before returning clean fluid back into circulation. Unlike your cardiovascular system, it has no pump, no heart driving it forward. It moves entirely through muscle contractions, breathing, and the rhythmic squeezing of the lymphatic vessel walls themselves. After the age of 65, research published in the journal Microcirculation found that lymphatic vessel contractility, the ability of those vessel walls to push fluid forward, declines by approximately 50%. Fluid stagnates. Waste accumulates. Immune cells get stranded in tissue rather than circulating where they are needed. The result is chronic puffiness, limb heaviness, fatigue, slower wound healing, and an increased vulnerability to infection that most people accept as simply getting older. It is not normal. It is correctable physiology. Preliminary clinical observation findings from the Johns Hopkins Integrative Medicine Program indicate that castor oil applied over major lymphatic territories, the abdomen, the sides of the neck, and the armpits, appears to stimulate lymphatic flow through a mechanism involving nitric oxide release in the vessel walls. Nitric oxide is the compound that signals blood and lymphatic vessels to relax and widen. Think of it like uncrimping a garden hose that has been pinched shut. When those walls release, fluid begins to move again, and your body can finally start clearing the backlog of metabolic waste that has been accumulating in your tissues. Ruth Callahan, 73 years old, a retired librarian from Memphis, Tennessee, had been living with ankle swelling for 3 years. Her cardiologist had cleared her heart completely. The issue was lymphatic stagnation. We added a nightly abdominal castor oil pack with clockwise massage strokes to her evening routine, paired with 10 minutes of slow diaphragmatic breathing, deep belly breathing, immediately after application. Within 6 weeks, her ankles had measurably reduced in circumference, and she told me she had stopped sleeping with pillows stacked under her feet for the first time in 2 years. Warm your castor oil slightly, rest the bottle in a bowl of hot water for a few minutes, then apply it in firm, slow, clockwise circles over your abdomen for 10 minutes before placing your pack. Clockwise follows the natural direction of your colon beneath, and the mechanical pressure of your moving hand directly assists lymphatic flow through the largest lymphatic territory in the body. Drink at least 2 liters of water throughout the day. Lymphatic fluid is largely water. A chronically dehydrated body is a lymphatically compromised body, and no amount of topical application compensates for that. Pro tip most people miss: the clockwise direction is not optional. Counterclockwise strokes work against your colon's natural motility and can increase, rather than relieve, abdominal heaviness. Direction matters here more than pressure. What you are hearing today is here every week. Subscribe so none of it passes you by. Reason 2, the nerve that controls. Whether you sleep or just lie in the dark, stay with me through this one. It sets the stage directly for the reason that changes everything. Here is what nobody tells you about sleep after 70. The problem is rarely the number of hours. The problem is the structure of those hours, specifically how much time your body spends in deep, slow-wave sleep. Slow-wave sleep is the stage where growth hormone is released, tissues are rebuilt, memories are consolidated, and your brain's waste-clearing network, called the lymphatic system, flushes the toxic protein debris that accumulates during waking hours. After 75, research shows this stage can decline by up to 80% compared to younger years. That is not mild disruption. That is the near-complete loss of your body's primary overnight repair window. Here is what is happening inside your body that drives this. Your vagus nerve, the longest cranial nerve in the body, running from the base of your brain down through your neck, wrapping around your heart and lungs, passing through your diaphragm, and branching throughout your entire abdominal cavity, is the main highway of your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and repair mode. When vagal tone is high, you shift deeply into restorative sleep. Your heart rate is stable, digestion is efficient, and your mood is calm. When vagal tone is low, which is the condition of most adults over 70 who have been under sustained stress, your nervous system cannot fully disengage from alert mode. You spend 8 hours in bed and wake up as though you barely slept at all. A clinical study published in the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine found that participants who applied castor oil packs to their abdomen nightly for 4 weeks showed statistically significant increases in urinary melatonin metabolites, meaning their bodies were producing and utilizing measurably more melatonin along with reduced morning cortisol levels. Morning cortisol is a direct biomarker of how restorative your previous night actually was. Lower morning cortisol means deeper, more regenerative sleep. The researchers hypothesized that castor oil's effect on abdominal nerve receptors was triggering a deeper parasympathetic shift during sleep. Eleanor Marsh, 67 years old, a former school teacher from Raleigh, North Carolina, had not slept through the night in 4 years. She described waking at 2 or 3 in the morning, mind fully active, unable to return to sleep for 1 to 2 hours. We introduced a dual application practice: castor oil on the soles of both feet, particularly the arch and heel areas, covered with old cotton socks to hold the oil through the night, combined with a thin layer over the lower abdomen. Within 3 weeks, she was waking once per night rather than 3 times. Within 2 months, she was sleeping through. Apply castor oil to the soles of both feet, the arch especially, and pull on a pair of old cotton socks immediately. At the same time, apply a thin layer over your lower abdomen. Then take 5 slow belly breaths. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 2, exhale for 8. That breathing pattern is a clinically validated vagal activator. Together, the oil and the breath send your entire nervous system one unambiguous signal: it is safe to rest now. It is time to repair. Pro tip, and this one is critical: the exhale must be at least twice the length of the inhale. That precise ratio is what triggers the parasympathetic shift. A short exhale does not produce the same effect. 4 in, hold 2, 8 out. Do not rush the breath. Reason 1, what castor oil does to your cellular power plants while you sleep. This is the reason I opened this video the way I did. And this is the piece that, once you understand it, reframes everything else on this list. Here is what is happening inside your body. Every cell you have, your heart cells, your brain cells, your muscle cells, your immune cells, runs on a molecule called ATP, which stands for adenosine triphosphate. It is your cellular fuel. Your mitochondria, tiny structures inside each cell, present by the thousands in a healthy adult, are the organelles that manufacture that fuel continuously. Think of them as miniature power plants running inside every cell of your body, 24 hours a day. At age 30, a single cell might contain 2,000 or more well-functioning mitochondria. By age 70, research from the Buck Institute for Research on Aging shows that population can drop by 50% or more, and the mitochondria that remain are often damaged, inefficient, and generating toxic byproducts called reactive oxygen species, more commonly known as free radicals, that damage the cell further from the inside. This mitochondrial decline is now understood to be a primary biological driver of nearly every symptom associated with aging: the fatigue that does not lift with rest, the muscle weakness that was not there a decade ago, the cognitive fog that makes a familiar word disappear mid-sentence, the wounds that close slowly, the immune response that cannot mount what it used to. The science behind this is solid, and it is worth your full attention. Cell culture studies have identified ricinoleic acid as a potential activator of a compound called AMPK, AMP-activated protein kinase, which functions as the master switch of cellular energy metabolism. When AMPK is activated, it triggers a cascade of restorative events. It stimulates the production of new mitochondria through a process called mitochondrial biogenesis, your body literally building new power plants. It activates autophagy, your cellular self-cleaning system, which removes damaged proteins and worn-out organelles that would otherwise continue creating problems, and it strengthens the cell's own antioxidant defenses. AMPK activation is the same pathway triggered by vigorous exercise and caloric restriction, both of which are among the most reliably longevity-associated interventions in the scientific literature. Why is nighttime specifically the critical window? Because mitochondrial repair and mitochondrial biogenesis preferentially occur during sleep, specifically during growth hormone pulses that happen in the first half of the night. Growth hormone is your body's master tissue repair and regeneration signal. Its production declines by approximately 75% between age 25 and age 70, and nearly all of what your body still produces is released during deep sleep. By applying ricinoleic acid before bed, you may be creating the cellular conditions that allow whatever growth hormone your body is still capable of producing to do its most important repair work during those hours. For this specific purpose, focus your castor oil pack over your liver, right upper abdomen, just below the lower ribs on your right side. The liver is the metabolic center of your entire body and contains one of the highest concentrations of mitochondria of any organ. Its cellular energy health directly influences energy availability for every other system in your body. Apply 4 nights per week. On the remaining 3 nights, use the foot application for its vagal and sleep benefit. The 2 protocols rotate and reinforce each other. This is not inevitable. This is not simply aging. This is physiology, and physiology can be changed. Tell me in the comments, which of these 5 reasons do you believe has been affecting you the most? I read every comment, and your answer directly shapes what I bring you next. Here's the complete protocol organized by when to do it. Every morning, drink 16 ounces of water before anything else. Lymphatic fluid is largely water, and the overnight drainage and cellular work your body attempted during the night requires replenishment to continue throughout the day. This costs nothing and takes 30 seconds. With your main meal, brew a cup of turmeric and ginger tea, 1 teaspoon of ground turmeric, and 1/2 teaspoon of dried or freshly grated ginger in 8 ounces of hot water steeped for 5 minutes, available at any grocery store for under $5 per month. This activates the internal anti-inflammatory pathways that the castor oil addresses from the outside. Every evening, 4 nights per week, the castor oil pack, saturate a piece of unbleached cotton flannel, roughly the size of your open hand, with cold-pressed hexane-free castor oil. Apply it to your primary area of concern, lower back and hips for fascial stiffness, right upper abdomen for inflammatory and cellular energy benefit, or lower abdomen for lymphatic and sleep support. Cover with plastic wrap. Apply a heating pad on the lowest warm setting for 20 to 30 minutes. Take 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate before sleep on these same nights. Every evening, 3 nights per week. The foot and abdomen application. Apply castor oil to the soles of both feet, cover with old cotton socks, and apply a thin layer over the lower abdomen. Immediately follow with 5 slow belly breaths. 4 counts in, hold for 2 counts, 8 counts out. One preparation warning that most home protocols ignore. Consistency in the first 30 days matters more than intensity. Using the pack twice in 1 week and skipping the next 2 produces almost no cumulative benefit. 4 consistent nights per week for 8 consecutive weeks is the threshold at which most people report meaningful, lasting change. The body needs repetition to reorganize. This protocol costs less per week than a single tube of over-the-counter pain cream. And unlike that, it is aimed at the actual source of the problem. Give this 90 days. Note your morning stiffness, your sleep quality, your energy by midday. Document the change because when it happens, you will want to be able to point to it precisely. Here is the full picture and why every piece of it matters. Your fascia has been stiffening for lack of the deep overnight hydration that ricinoleic acid is uniquely able to deliver to collagen tissue while you sleep. Your inflammatory signaling has been running at a chronic low-grade high for years, quietly driving joint pain, cognitive fog, and cardiovascular stress at the same time. Your lymphatic system has been backing up, not because something is wrong with you, but because the vessels responsible for moving fluid have lost roughly half their contractile strength since your 60s. Your vagus nerve tone has declined to the point where deep, physically restorative sleep is no longer fully accessible to you, regardless of how many hours you spend in bed. And your mitochondria, the power plants inside every cell, have been declining in number and efficiency, taking your energy, your resilience, and your body's repair capacity with them. Each of these alone contributes to how you feel every morning. Together, they create the full picture of why aging feels the way it does for so many people over 60. This is not inevitable. This is not simply aging. This is physiology, and physiology can be addressed. Your body has been doing this work, the repair work, the drainage work, the energy work, for every one of the decades you have been alive. It has not stopped trying. It has simply been running without the raw materials it needs to complete the job. Tonight, you can begin changing that. Not next week. Tonight. Take 15 minutes before you go to sleep. Saturate the flannel. Apply the oil. Breathe slowly. Let the maintenance crew do its work while you rest. The factory has not been demolished. The supply chain just needs to start running again. Start tonight. Subscribe. We are almost at 1,000 subscribers, and every person who joins this channel is part of building something that genuinely serves people. If this video gave you something real, something you did not hear at your last appointment, that subscription is worth 3 seconds of your time. Like. If you know someone who has been told that what they are feeling is simply their age, and there is nothing more to be done, hit like. It costs you nothing. It may reach exactly the person who needs to hear that the answer is physiology, not inevitability. Comment. Tell me in the comments, which of these 5 reasons do you believe has been the biggest factor in how you have been feeling? I read every comment, and your answer shapes what I cover in the next video. Share. Share this with a partner, a sibling, a parent, a friend who has been quietly accepting things they do not have to accept. You may never know whose morning you change by doing that. I am Dr. Ethan Reed. I will see you in the next video.